Everything is political. Let's start there. Everything is political. Nothing in life is not political. From the something as mundane as the distance between the dashes on the road, the yellow dashes or the white dashes, depending on where you're driving, from something as mundane to that, all the way to your ability to choose to do what women choose to do with their body. Everything is political. And so from that aspect, no matter what I talk about on this show, there's always going to be a political component. And the truth is that the reason I talk about it is that I feel like our politics are very constrained, constraining, and myopic. Not I feel, I know, without a shadow of a doubt, our politics are myopic. Part of the reason they've been able to get away with this myopic style of politics is because I feel like what I'm going to talk about tonight will help people to understand better why the ruling elite in this country have been able to get away with so much for so long. Not just this country, but across the planet. It's something interesting about history. Throughout history, at least recorded history, as we study it, even the history that they feed us in schools, it's a succession of ambitious and violent men seeking power, sometimes glory, but always power. And that power has always come at the expense of the masses. And so what we have throughout history is a pyramid scheme, an economic and political power pyramid scheme, where the masses are at the bottom of the hierarchy, and at the top you have the ambitious, violent men. Overwhelmingly, predominantly men, very few exceptions, notable exceptions. What we've told ourselves about this history is that hierarchy of rulers, conquerors, kings, the nobility, the robber barons, the capitalists, the tech CEOs, what we've told ourselves about this hierarchy through history is that those people are special. We're consistently told the theme that the reason those people are at the top is because they're special. They had a certain trait about them. They took risk. They worked hard. We had a whole season of books written about this. 12 Habits of a CEO, right? 12 Habits of a Successful Entrepreneur. And we created this mythos around these ambitious, violent in their own way. The violence is merely different now. They don't have to take, bats and whatever weapon they can grab their hands on. They don't have to take that and hit people across the head anymore. They don't have to take their bow and arrows and see who can kill the most people anymore. They don't have to take their cannons. They don't have to use their swords. They don't have to use their AK-47s anymore. Now, America does in general. We still control and dominate the global stage as an empire, but I'm talking about individuals. I'm not really talking about states and countries so much as individuals. The way individuals dominate society with their violence as it is today is through economic power. But still, regardless of how they conquered, regardless of their conquests, throughout history, it's the consistent narrative of these people are victorious because there was something special about them. They took some risk. They were born into some noble line. They were whatever. And consistently throughout history, you see the hierarchy, the pyramid scheme of how we organize society, where the uber elite, the wealthiest, the richest, they are at the top of society. And that position in society is only sustained by the base of the triangle, the base of the pyramid, right? Which is all of us, you and me. The reality of it is that there's not a damn thing special about any person in history that isn't special about all of us. And I know I'm kind of breezing past that, but I would say honestly, that's the grand thesis of my life. I don't believe that anyone is inherently more special than the next person. The pyramid scheme has us thinking that the way things work in society and the way things should work in society and the way society should be built and structured and maintained is by the unwashed masses doing all of the necessary work to create the society and sustain the society for each upper echelon, ultimately leading to the ruling elite at the very top of that hierarchy. That's the way it's been organized. I mean, just take a gander through history. It literally is a succession of strong men. Then we have the Enlightenment, and we had the French Revolution, and we had or vice versa, the American Revolution, French, and we have a shift to where now it becomes more centered around the idea of democracy. But even the ambitious, violent men found a way to work and circumvent democracy by buying democracy through our politicians. And now we still have a society that's organized like a pyramid scheme, where the rich and the uber successful, elite, politician, billionaire, tech industry gurus, and all these people, they're at the top of the pyramid, and the rest of us are down here with the unwashed masses. And the same fictitious narrative persists to this day, that Mark Zuckerberg is where he is because he did something special, or there was something uniquely special about him that no one else could do. And if it wasn't for Mark Zuckerberg being a risk taker, then we wouldn't have this tech giant called Facebook that happens to only sustain itself by you and I giving them our data on a constant basis and participating on those platforms on a constant basis. But no, Mark Zuckerberg, he's a special person. And because he's special, he deserves billions of dollars that he earns off of our participation on his website. And for the context, Ben, how many times has the abuses of the elite turned into revolts and revolutions? See Spartacus, the Malmux, etc. Actually, that's where I'm going with this. The inevitable turn of events that happens when society is ordered that way, it always ends in violence. It always ends in revolution. It always ends with some destabilizing moment in history to a greater or lesser extent. Some puts us in a period of dark ages. And that's because we never learned a lesson. Society is still testing the same lesson over and over, failing the same test over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And we're just trying it in different iterations, trying to see if we can consistently get away with organizing society where the elite are at the top and everyone else at the bottom, who literally are you don't have a pyramid without the base. You simply do not have a pyramid without the base. So it's completely impossible for the elite, rhetorically, logically, and practically, rather literally, it is completely impossible for elite to exist without the base. And what always happens throughout history, you can take every single empire, every single kingdom, every single period in history, you have a ruling elite that eventually and inevitably abuses their power, abuses their authority, and ultimately abuses the bottom of their society, the base, and it inevitably leads to war. Inevitably. What's happening today is far more insidious than just the outright open abuses. What happens today is that the ruling elite actually did learn a lesson. They didn't learn the lesson that they needed to learn. A lesson that they learned was that they have to be far more sophisticated in how they get us to comply, how they get us to go along with it, how they get us to maintain this system. And I think the way that they maintain their order today is far more difficult to even realize than before. And this is why we've had such a sustained period in terms of quote unquote peace, or when I'm defining peace as no outright revolution against the system. The way they keep us maintained today is because of what we're doing now. Entertainment, social media. More insidious than that, it's not just the entertainment and social media in and of itself, but it's the fact that our entertainment and social media is used to sell us the visions and the idea that one day we will be elite, that we will be rich, that we will be famous. And so long as we can hold on to the dream of that one day we will be the person that is at the top of that pyramid. And that's why it's a scheme, a pyramid scheme, because all they're selling us is the idea that one day we will rise to the top of that pyramid, when in reality, you're not. I'm not. We're not. Because what they tell you is that America and our system is a meritocracy, and the way Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos got there was through hard work and determination. They took two wooden nickels and they rubbed it together, and voila. And if they did it, you should be able to do it too. They didn't tell you about the fact that they all had startup capital, that Jeff Bezos' parents gave him a loan of a check of $300,000 to start Amazon. Right? So they give us these apocryphal stories, and they leave out the most important information, which was these individuals who did these great things. One, they had capital to start with. All right. Two, they had their basic needs already met. So they didn't have to worry about paying their rent, and created this Amazon, this monstrosity called Amazon. Not only did he have his basic needs met, but he had capital so that all he had to do was sit back and create. But they've got you convinced that what really happened was that he was such a hard worker. He worked 9 to 5 at a regular job, making $15 an hour. And at night he went home and started Amazon in his garage. No, he was already wealthy. He already had his basic needs met. In addition to that, and in addition to having his basic needs met, he was able to get access to capital to actually make some investments into a company. Nothing is built in this system that we currently have. Nothing is built without money. But they have the rest of us buying into this pipe dream that all we have to do is work a little harder. And if we work a little harder, then we too can become the next Jeff Bezos and build our empire. And the allure of that dream has become so intoxicating that it has lulled to sleep hundreds of millions, or dare I say even billions of people who are comfortably asleep, dreaming the pipe dream that if they just work a little bit harder, they can move up from poverty and living paycheck to paycheck and making less than $15 an hour. And they too can become a part of America's elite if they just work hard enough. Well, you realize that what you've been participating in all this time is one big sham and one big scam. And it's not for nothing. Oh, no. It's not that you're running in circles for nothing. It's that they have become, the ruling elite, the billionaires, the oligarchs, those who run this country both economically and politically, they have become masters of generating obscene amounts of wealth through your delusions, through your pipe dreams, through your aspirations to become like them, even though you're waiting tables at Denny's at 2 a.m. They've become masters because the harder you work, the more they get. They get through your labor. Come on, you should be able to list these by now. They generate wealth off your labor. They generate wealth off your participation, just being here, viewing this content, the exchange of data. Your participation generates wealth. They generate wealth off your consumption. So when you go out and you're working and you get off the clock, you go and eat something, their money, boom, goes right back to them. So they're getting you coming and going. So it's not that you're spinning your wheels for nothing. As you spin your wheels and get nowhere, you are an engine of economic production. You just spinning your wheels. You're not getting anywhere. Oh, but your boss is. Well, really, his boss is. You're not getting anywhere, but you're creating some activity. You're generating some wealth. You're on that hamster wheel, creating that wealth. You're not getting anywhere, but every single thing that you do is creating wealth for the system, even if you're dead ass broke. You're not getting anywhere, but the economic system is. The billionaires and the millionaires, they most certainly are. They have sold us a dream that is vivid enough to make us think that one day we'll become billionaires. And therein lies the reason we haven't overthrown this system like previous revolutions have overthrown their system. Or sometimes it was one greedy person at the top against another greedy person at the top, ultimately destroying the entire royalty, the entire nobility, right? Changing the system. But they have an agreement amongst themselves now. They have found a way that they all can have their own little fiefdoms. They all can have their own little kingdoms. They all can become venerated worship lords. Not warlords, tech lords, CEOs, their own little fiefdom, their own little kingdom, their own servants. So we've satisfied the urge for them to go to war with each other, and they have now coordinated just a handful of them. Well, shit, maybe 500 at most across the entire globe.